So good morning, everyone. My name is Grzegorz Galusek, and I work for Microfinance Center, known as MFC commonly. Welcome, everyone. We do not seem to have very many participants at the moment, but hopefully more people will join. Thank you for joining for this webinar, which we titled "How to Give Employees Constructive Feedback." We all know that employees need strong technical skills, but they also need strong soft skills to excel at work. So while technical skills, of course, are essential, providing a good constructive feedback is a crucial soft skill that will definitely help motivate your employees and unlock their potential. So in today's session, our expert, whom I would like to introduce in a minute, will share a few practical tips to help you master this very important soft skill of giving employees constructive feedback. So let's dive in and learn how to turn feedback into a solid, if not powerful, tool for building strong and successful teams. So this webinar will last 90 minutes, and we'll also have a question and answers part. And you noticed that this webinar is also recorded. That's a requirement of the sponsor, about whom I will say a few words in a few minutes. Feel free to ask questions. There are not so many of us, so we can we can offer this webinar in a really cozy, almost family type of atmosphere. You will see slides that we can share with you after the webinar. So I'm very happy to introduce Bożena Olszewska, who is today's expert. And Bożena is a passionate trainer and coach who equips leaders and individuals with the skills for success. And Bożena combines more than 15 years of experience in leadership development, and has a background in communication and coaching to empower people to achieve their goals. And Bożena's unique perspective comes from her work in both the corporate world and the non-profit sector. I actually have a question to Bożena, because in her bio, I noticed that Bożena is described as servant leadership trainer. And Bożena, would you mind saying a few words how to understand
servant leadership?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, servant leadership. Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's a great question. Yes, mm-hmm. Servant leadership is it's like a philosophy more than a method, I would say. Mm-hmm. So it's more like a mindset of how do we lead people in the workplace, but also everywhere else, and what posture we take so that people want to follow, so that we can and it's really based on serving other people. And sometimes it looks, people think serving is weak, but serving actually is quite powerful. We all serve. We serve in the financial sector. We serve in every other production sector, any other. We serve people, but we also need to serve our employees, so they actually we create happy workplaces, places where people want to work. So basically, it's a long, obviously a big subject, but it's really something that it's being practiced since the 70s in the US, and many Fortune 500 companies practice that philosophy. So that's in a short.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for this additional clarification. I hope it adds very many new dimensions to this word servant, and yeah, good. So let's maybe talk a little bit about the upcoming SIFTA events. We will in April we'll have 2 more webinars. One on analyzing social enterprising, and this webinar will be offered on 22nd of April, and another one on 25th. We'll tackle AI-powered solutions for social finance institutions. So very current, very trendy type of a topic. We'll discuss responsible artificial intelligence, machine learning, and practical use cases for microfinance. So I encourage all of you to sign up for these 2 webinars. Then in May, so pretty soon, in less than a month, let's move to the next slide. We have the MFC conference. If you haven't signed up yet, please, there is still time. You can do that. We will have a very exciting agenda, but except for the 2 conference days, we will also have 2 SIFTA webinars. One will continue the topic of artificial intelligence. So it will be a longer workshop that will be offered on the 14th of May with experts. Actually, this group of experts is even bigger, even larger than what you can see on this slide. There'll be 3 different experts involved, or even 4. And then on the 15th, which I think is sorry, a mistake here. I think it's on the 16th of May. It should be May. So 16th May 2024. We'll have a special forum for leaders in microfinance, for mainly coming from the MFC network, who will need to discuss key trends and developments in inclusive finance. We'll have a few great experts that will discuss topics that are not very commonly discussed, including technology and its influence on different levels of management and running of institutions, funding issues, but also influence of AI and technology on cultural issues and other aspects of other dimensions of our lives that eventually also have implications for running and managing organizations. A very interesting meeting. As I spotted a mistake, please bear in mind that it's on the 16th of May, so not 15th of April, but 16th of May, right after the Krakow conference, same location. So, as I have already mentioned, this is a SIFTA program. SIFTA is, let's move to the next slide. SIFTA is a special program to support microfinance institutions and institutions offering social finance in the EU. It is it's part of the Invest EU funding program. InvestEU is a huge investment program of the European Union, and it also has this, what is called EU Advisory Hub, and as part of this hub, we have SIFTA, which provides services to technical assistance, mainly in the form of technical assistance to microfinance organizations and social enterprise institutions in the EU. Let's move to the next slide. And basically, this program is composed of two pillars. One pillar is about advisory, about capacity building for microfinance institutions and institutions offering financing to social enterprises. And the second pillar, second leg of it, is about rating, assessment, and evaluation. So prior to any technical assistance that is provided, institutions undergo assessment that can spot different weaknesses that also maps the current status quo of the institution in terms of processes, procedures, plans for the future, and helps them develop capacity building program that will help in growing institutions. So let's move to the next slide. And I already mentioned that it's a new program, and it also encompasses a range of microfinance providers and social enterprise providers, such as investment funds, impact investors, incubators, accelerators, that offer or in the process of widening their scope with a view to providing financial support to social enterprises. Next slide. And this program is delivered by 3 institutions. It is managed by the European Investment Fund, and the TA part is implemented by the Frankfurt School of Finance and Management, which is the lead, the manager of the consortium, and then the 2 implementing partners are the Microfinance Center ourselves and European Microfinance Network. So 2 networks, 2 microfinance networks implement this program together with the Frankfurt School of Finance and Management. The assessment part, the rating and assessment part is implemented by Microfinance Rating. Next slide. So there's still time if you are interested, if you are one of the institutions that are interested in receiving technical assistance, you can contact EIB directly. There is an email and express interest in the program, and they will respond to your message. Or you can also get in touch with one of the providers. Next slide. Either the Frankfurt School, and there is an email where you can get information about the program, or directly with the, if you're also interested in the evaluation and rating services, you can get in touch directly with Microfinance Rating. So I think this is it about the topic, our great expert for today, and the sponsor. And now I would like to pass the mic over to Bożena. Thanks.
Thank you. Great. Welcome, everyone. Great to see you. Great to be here. And we are not in a very big group, but that is okay, actually. So I would like to actually encourage you, if you have a willingness to participate. When I ask questions, we don't need to actually use the chat. I encourage you to, just to be active and participate, because I would love to hear, because it is about feedback. I would like to hear also from you, what are some of your experiences, if you would like to share, of course. I'm not going to pull you to answer, but basically, if you have some input, your input is very, very valuable. So let me just put up the presentation, and we're going to, of course, start. And just give me a second. Here we go. Yeah, I hope everyone can see this. So the title today is, as has been said, it's how to give employees constructive feedback, and we're going to talk about feedback in culture. So feedback, how to create a culture in an organization. Because culture is something different than just giving feedback just, from time to time. It's basically creating an atmosphere or practice of regular feedback. We're going to talk about how to give a new type of feedback, which is called Feedforward. And also we're going to give also some case studies and situations. I'm sure you have plenty of your own case studies too. So first of all, actually, before we start, I don't know if you are coming from busy morning, lots of emails, lots of things to do. And what I do usually, and I forget also very often, is taking a breath. So I very often go from one thing to another, quick, when we have lots of tasks to do. So I encourage you to take like a deep breath. And also why breath is important too. One breath is enough. We don't have to breathe a lot. But one breath is enough sometimes in order to, when we give feedback. Because we tend as human beings sometimes just shoot, go for it, express our opinions very quickly instead of thinking about something or doing something on purpose. And so breath helps us. So I encourage you just even now, take a breath and hopefully you can focus on this webinar. We're going to talk about feedback and feed forward. And as you see, the reason I have a picture of food here is because in both of those words, there is a word, I like metaphors. And so the word feed. And it's interesting metaphor because it's a metaphor of feeding. And the question is, what are we feeding our people with? And obviously, and what kind of feed? It's with the feedback we are giving them. So we can either feed people with nutritionist things, or we can feed them with things that are not necessarily healthy for them. And it's not just people that we are feeding ourselves. So the question is, what are we giving ourselves, or what are giving others, or what are we receiving ourselves, and what are we giving? And so, yeah, I really like this feeding metaphor. And we will talk about feedback and feed forward. And it's I'm going to develop this later, but it's as simple as it is. Feedback talks more about the past, what happened, and how can we fix it, hopefully. And feed forward, it's about the future. What can we do better? What can we improve, and how can we improve? And I want to actually ask you, before we delve more deep into the webinar, and maybe you're willing to share, how often do you receive feedback? You can write in the chat, or you can share. How often do you receive feedback? How often do you give feedback? Yeah. What is your experience with feedback? How is feedback you are receiving constructive and helpful? How is feedback you are receiving not helpful and constructive? And what could be done better? Is there anybody who would like to share? You can answer any of those questions. Any volunteers? I know people need to be bold. Yeah, I'm gonna wait a second. Okay. In my experience, maybe I share with my experience, from my experience. When I was working in my first job, I worked there for 10 years. It was a multicultural environment. However, it wasn't a big corporation. However, I have not received constructive feedback even once. I received many opinions, judgments, but I have not received once a constructive feedback. So that was quite an interesting experience. It was many years ago, but it was quite an interesting experience. And so that was my experience with it. And I think that later on, when I received truly feedback, it was really helpful to me to learn and to learn from my experiences, learn from others, and to grow, basically. Let me go on. And I think before we go into this, I want to give you also my story about not receiving feedback. I remember once I went to work, and I didn't have very far, so I walked, and it was raining. And so I went to immediately I had to go into a meeting with my CEO. So I didn't have time to look in the mirror or anything. And so we talked and we discussed different plans, etc. But when I left the meeting, and the meeting lasted, I think, at least about an hour, I left the meeting, went to the bathroom, and I looked into the mirror, and there I was. I had my mascara all over my cheeks because of the rain, and it kind of melted, and it looked like a panda, So it was quite funny because my CEO, he kept looking at me. He kept a straight face. He never even laughed once, or he didn't say anything to me. And when I looked back in the mirror, I thought, wow, I look really silly. And to me, this is a description of really what feedback could be or is. It's somebody said, Marshall Goldman said that actually the first time somebody gave feedback was when they looked into the face of the water. And they saw themselves, and they saw what they look like. And I think in this situation with my panda eyes, I wonder, what could be done different in order for me not to feel silly, not to look ridiculous. And so, yeah. So I wanted to ask Agnieszka, would you like to say something?
Yes, you asked about positive feedback. I previously in a local government unit, and there was no constructive feedback, only accusatory feedback. So I have learned not to rejoice in a success, but I'm always afraid whether I'm doing it's okay. It's somebody not judge me, for example. It is very important to learn in a success, because we have some superstition if we are doing something bad, everyone join with us. If we are doing something in a success, there's a lot of people who is jealous, for example, and who is waiting for our upadek, zapomniałam.
Oh, they waiting for a fall down?
Yes, fall down. Yes, thank you. So it is very hard to listen this not constructive feedback, because it is depends from each for example, my colleagues from work, from my CEO, for example. It helps me, for example, build my my success way, for example, if this feedback is correct, is friendly. If not, I close myself and I don't want to share my my ideas, for example, and I feel then I'm lonely in my ideas. It is difficult then.
Yes, and thank you for sharing. And exactly, very often we are afraid to give or receive because of the reaction we will get. Because very often, as we were sharing before, before the webinar, very often we were opinionated. Very often we received judgments about ourselves. Yeah, we received there was somebody's reaction that was hurtful. And so that's why we need to learn how to skillfully give feedback, to take a breath and not to react. And there are tools to learn it, because if we, the problem is, if we close, if all of us keep to ourselves our ideas, our hearts, our resources, the soft skills, if we are not vulnerable, if we're not open, then we are like, I call it like turtles. We hit ourselves with a hard shell, and there is no exchange of life, of ideas, or there is a lot of fear that in the organization. And when there's fear in the organization and not trust versus trust, the organization is, I wouldn't say it's not growing, but it's stifled. The growth is stifled. And so that's why we can learn it, because I think the reason, maybe I can ask you, what do you think is the reason we don't know how to give helpful feedback, or the feedback is hurtful? Does anybody have any ideas? Feel free to share.
I think, hello.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes that's because we don't know, if we don't hurt somebody, how to say something that could be not nice for this.
Yes.
This our second person, and this is the I think the most difficult thing, how to say something not nice, something difficult, hard,
yes,
in nice way to make this conversation constructive.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Exactly. So there is fear. There is fear because we have been also very often mistreated in the way we've been given feedback. So yes, but good news is there is a way out. There is a way forward with it to learn, and not to be so very reactive to the things. It's like with my panda story. You know, it's really sometimes people choose not to say anything as well, right? There is a feedback. There is something that is happening. People are wise. They see 360. They see what's happening. However, because of fear, they hold it back. Maybe my CEO was afraid that he was going to hurt me, or didn't know how to say it, or maybe it was funny to him and he didn't want to laugh at me. I don't know. I don't know that. However, this is a very, very little funny story. However, there are bigger issues. It's not about mascara. It's about bigger issues that we need to talk. However, had he said something, perhaps I wouldn't feel silly later on. So so let's go on. I think in order to give and receive feedback, we need to have some skills, some competencies. So we learn and we give it. And one of them is listening. One of those competencies is listening. I think generally, I don't know what your take on it is, or what your experience, but people enjoy talking more than they like listening. And it's not just in the business setting, but it's everywhere. But we need to, and when we listen, we really need to listen with understanding and hear people, what they're saying, instead of just reacting. And it's interesting, Carl Rogers, which is, one of the fathers of modern psychology, he said that, and that's listening is one of the most potent forces. And actually, it's not, you don't need to go to many trainings. There are trainings about listening. However, listening is really letting other person talk and hearing them until the end, not reacting. Yeah, sometimes there is problem with listening because we don't have time and we want to go quick. But listening is a very powerful, potent tool. Another competency, another tool is really asking questions. And I really recommend this book. It's a great book about asking questions and having different attitudes. But Marilee Adams, she said, great results begin with great questions. And it's really worth in feedback and Feedforwards. It's not really so much about telling what I think about you. It's about asking questions and hearing from you. We'll talk about it later, so I don't want to unpack everything here. But it's more about asking questions, more about listening, more about trying to understand what happened, but also what can we do better and different in the future. So this, what happened, won't change in the future. Won't happen again, sorry, in the future. And Marilee Adams, she says there are two really attitudes, two postures, and it's very close to servant leadership philosophy. She says there is a judgmental posture, and I know many of us have encountered leaders, managers, bosses, although we don't say boss anymore, but managers, yeah, supervisors who were judgmental. And judgmental means posture, an attitude of saying, I know better than you do. I am all-knowing, almost. I know better, and you have to do what I tell you. And this is what I think, and what I think is the most important thing. And I don't actually care about your opinion. You just do what I tell you. Yeah, so this is the judgmental attitude. How many of you have, you can raise your hand, you don't have to say it, but how many of you have had experiences of leadership like that? I can raise my hand. Yeah. I know many of us have encountered this form of leadership. However, another posture and attitude of in the leadership is teachability. It's really understanding that I, as a leader, I, as a me, as a supervisor, as a CEO, I know what I know, but I don't know everything. It's as simple as that, right? So I know what I know. I don't know everything. There is a gap that I don't know, and so I would like to find out. And the way I find out is by asking questions. It's not being all-knowing, expert. Like even I'm standing here and I've been introduced as an expert. However, there are many things I don't know. There are many things I know. Some things concerning this presentation. However, I don't know everything about feedback, and that is a quality that we call in servant leadership humility, which sounds weak, but it's not. It's very powerful because it connects people and it makes people seen, and it builds teams. But this is for another webinar, hopefully in the future. So before we go into this, I would like to show you a quick video about feedback. It's a little funny, so so hopefully you enjoy this. Let me just start play you the video. Yes, okay. I hope you can hear it.
It's just, there's all this pressure, you know? And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there...
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing...
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
Yeah, see, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
See, you're
out.
not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just... Sometimes it's like there's this achy... I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
Yeah, that sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Oh, come on. Ow. If you would just...
Don't...
Try to see things my way. Do I have to keep...
Okay, what do you think? I hope you heard the sound was there. So what do you think about this form of...
I think that the girl, she was close to any argument, she didn't want to listen, like she was close.
Yes, she was close. It was that close to a big fight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
But I think also the problem was that he was fixated on this nail idea, and that the problem was with her, while she was at the beginning communicating something different. That actually, you know, there are some things, some factors that you know, just influence her, that are kind of beyond her control, you know. So I think he did not acknowledge this this at all.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to express their thoughts? Okay. Yeah, exactly that. It's really a great picture of feedback, because it shows that it's not just about listening to other person, although other people would like to be listened to, but it's both ways. We need to listen, but also we need to be listened to, but also listen. It's both ways. It works, and it's 2 ways. And it's more than one way. And sometimes there's something that's called a blind spot. It happens when we drive a car. There is a blind spot, but actually having something, as I had my panda eyes, having a nail on your forehead, or my panda eyes were in my blind spot. I couldn't see them. I could not perceive them. I thought I just looked perfect, you know, nice makeup. And I think it's similar to that. It's very often in our jobs, in our daily work, we just think we're doing like super well, like, hey, I'm doing great, but something happens and we cannot see it. And the other person, the person that gives us the feedback, it doesn't have to be the supervisor, it doesn't have to be the manager, it can be anybody, it can be peer-to-peer. Actually, with my panda eyes, I don't know why my coworkers didn't tell me. Maybe I was too fast going in, but my coworkers maybe didn't see it because I was too fast. But a great way would be if a friend of mine at work told me, "Hey, go to the bathroom first," right? And so and this leads us into how do we give feedback in a 360 environment where everybody can give each other feedback, not just the supervisor. Yeah, but the blind spot does it, and we have to understand that doesn't matter what position in the organization we have, we all have blind spots. That is sad to hear sometimes for some CEOs, right? That they for some supervisors, it's hard to hear that, oh, I do have maybe a blind spot. I'm not perfect. I'm a human, but it is like that, and we need to both tell and also ask. So I'm going to give you just, before we delve more deeply into, I'm going to give you some traditional, just skim through the traditional feedback methods maybe you've been introduced to. And so basically, this is a method called, sandwich, which I don't necessarily recommend, but you may encounter that. And basically, it's like the sandwich, which is like, it's got usually the first layer, which is the top slide, which is like a positive insight. You give positive insight, for example, as it says here, you bring a great team player, always willing to help others and to contribute to the group. Yeah, but there is a but, because there is a sandwich filling, and that is supposed to be the constructive feedback. Sometimes it happens to be criticism. So in this case, however, there have been instances when you interrupted colleagues during meetings. Let's work on active listening and giving everyone a chance to speak. This is very gentle and nice, given constructive feedback, but sometimes people would just like say, I like this, and they will go straight into a lot of negative feedback. And then the sandwich says, oh, and at the end you give, but you have a collaborative spirit. Why do you think this, I don't know if you've ever been given a sandwich, but why this doesn't necessarily work? Or maybe it works for you, I don't know. Any of you would like to share?
It's kind of based on this construction, something is good, but, and then you kick off with a list of, negative things. So it all, just an intelligent coworker, you always sense that this first sentence is kind of, just to please you a little bit, but really, just the negative stuff is going to come and maybe even kill you eventually. So I'm a little bit sensitive to this kind of American style. I don't think it's like in our country. It's that it'll be nice to have at least in Poland this sort of thing. But I'm a little bit sensitive to this. It's not it's not ideal, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just when somebody what the result of this is this. If you use it like this, and I wouldn't recommend it, but I just want you to be aware of it. People start to, whenever you give them any affirmation, they'll be like, "Oh, wait, something's coming," right? They're gonna wait for the hit, right? So they won't trust you. They'll think, "Okay, he's just saying that because he wants to, make a hit," and that doesn't build trust necessarily. That was taught in the late 90s, let's say, and it was used a lot.
For sure,
and still used.
I'm sure it must have been successful then, because at least it started nicely, positively. I think that was
at least
the difference in comparison with the earlier times. Just something positive, even if it's not gonna last for too long.
Exactly.
Followed by a litany of negative feedback.
Yes, and it's always better than just negative, right? Like just giving you a list of negative. However, there should be a progression, and there should be something. I think we are moving forward with some new methods, and I would say this sandwich always leaves a bad taste. So there is another feedback method. Maybe you've heard, and this is more trendy in the last 10 years. And maybe you've heard about nonviolent communication. And this is not a webinar about nonviolent. We could do a whole one, but this is more constructive for sure than the sandwich. And it more talks about the needs and emotions and how we as a receiver, we experience the other person. And this starts with basically first an observation, which is a fact, like a camera would record, right? So instead of judgment, our own opinion, we observe without expressing judgments, and we say, well, instead of saying you always interrupt me, which is not true, because always it's not probably always, it's maybe often, but not always. But instead of saying you always interrupt me, and the situation is that your colleague consistently interrupts you during team meetings. We have those, right? And so you always interrupt me. Instead of saying that, you focus on the specific behavior. So you only focus on the specifics. This is not a judgment then. So I've noticed, for example, I've noticed that during our last 3 meetings, you are being very specific. There was 3 last meetings for sure. It wasn't like all the 50 you've done. You interrupted me when I was speaking. Yeah, so you say an observation. You don't give a judgment, you just say what happened. Then you express feelings. So you say, you can say, you don't have to say it, but you at least you are aware of it. It's like, I feel frustrated and unheard when I get interrupted. So you're talking about yourself. You're not talking about the other person. The other person might have not been aware of you, but you are talking about yourself, and you say, I feel very frustrated about this. Yeah, I feel unheard. And then you express your needs. Yeah, you identify needs lying underneath this. And actually, it's important to me, and I value listening and collaboration. This is important. This is what I like. And then you make a request based on your needs. So you say, hey, would you be willing to let me finish speaking before responding? Yeah. Or would you be willing just to wait until I finish my sentence? And I have that a lot. Maybe not in business meetings, but in my family, I get that a lot because I like talking, and and I get requests. Can I finish? So that is in business, but also in private life. What do you think about this approach? What do you see?
Well, as you said, it's a lot of progression. I think these are important principles to use when talking to people in general in communication, I would say. So so yeah, I find them very, very positive. Even in sometimes they border on cliche type of reaction. Sometimes you hear those the kind of reaction. What's the kind of a common? I hear what you say, for instance. I hear what you're saying. Acknowledging someone's point, which is a good one, but kind of used in a very often in a cliched way, may sort of follow you as a sort of certain routine way of responding. Just to target to anything.
Yeah. Yes. And also you put a good point out there. When does somebody really cliche sentences usually are not meant.
Exactly.
People don't mean them. They just kind of like push. So they say, I hear what you say, but I.
Exactly.
Right? So it's then all about me again.
So it goes back to the sandwich feedback.
Yes, let's go back to the sandwich because sandwich is tastier, right? So because this, as you see, the progression, this takes a little bit more work, inner work, and that's sometimes uncomfortable. However, there was one sentence that set me free from Marshall Rosenberg, who actually he defined the nonviolent communication approach. He said that everything that people say, they say about themselves, even if they talk about us. And so if it's not in the I communication form, so it's not about, they don't say I think, I feel, even if they say you are like this, or you are too talkative, for example, you are just too much, you talk too much, for example, yeah? If they say that, it's not about me. It's about them. It's just poorly framed sentence about themselves. Basically, what they're trying to say is that, hey, I like quiet. I enjoy finishing my sentence. So they use just we need to translate them, let's say like that. So that's quite freeing because we don't have to take it personally. Even if somebody says you are just I don't know, too busy.
Yeah, but I think I may not entirely agree with that because language has this performative function, just you say certain things and just you make the world, just the judge says you're guilty, and you indeed are, in the light of law. So the same happening in conversation. So it's kind of it needs an extra skill actually to sort of dilute this message as you suggested, and say, well, this is really not about me. It's he wanted to say that he
there are some limits to it. Of course, there are some limits.
Yeah.
Sure, and we need to weigh things as well. So but this is still not feed forward. But let's talk about building. We talked about building a culture of feedback, feed forward in an organization, and I think we know Brené Brown. She's quite famous for her human-centered approach to business, talking about vulnerability. But this is a great quote. She talked about being open and how to create vulnerability, that we need to create atmospheres that are at work that are free of shame, free of guilting, free of, and we can give feedback without making people feel guilty, right? And she said, well, if we want people to fully show up, to bring their whole selves, including the unarmored whole hearts, so that we can innovate, solve problems, and serve people, we have to be vigilant about creating a culture in which people feel safe, seen, heard, and respected. This is a loaded quote, and it's easier said than done. But I want you to look I want to highlight this: creating a culture. It's really about not just a one-off practice, but it's a culture when we help people to feel safe. Because as someone said before, I think Agnieszka, you mentioned that sometimes it's not safe to share, and then we close, and we don't bring what we carry, the innovative. We all want organizations to be innovative, right? We all want new, great ideas. We want people to be involved. But what we actually also with new generations, with the Gen Z and millennials, I don't know if you have an experience with working with these younger people. They don't engage if they're not safe, right? But we need engagement. We are also nowadays we experience this quiet quitting very often, or just generally quitting. If it's quiet quitting, people just quit inside and they're like, I just do my job, do this and go home, and I don't care. And that is quite hard because for leadership, because we don't see this the organization being carried by people's involvement. And also, on the other hand, some people just say, okay, I give up, I quit after 2 months, half a year. I don't know if you've had those experiences, but we can do different, we can do better. And so basically, I would say, what are the benefits of 360 feedback? And when I talk about 360 feedback, I'm talking about not just the supervisor or the manager giving us feedback, but it's basically feedback from all sides, meaning peer-to-peer, employee to employee, customer feedback, and what this does is that it creates a different attitude, different posture. It's helping people to learn new skills, right? Because if you give people feedback, they can learn quicker, and it makes us more effective. It makes us, as Brené Brown says, we start going forward and being more, we influence the workplace. I wanted to show you like this slide where it's about servant leadership a little bit, how to build a culture of feedback in an organization. And basically, servant leader leads by example. And this is a very important very important highlights. We cannot expect our people. We don't say our people, but we don't understand people who follow us. We can't expect them to follow us if we don't lead by example. Many people lead by authoritarian approach. You do it because I say so. You do it because I'm the supervisor and I have power, right? But that creates disconnection. However, if a leader leads by example and shows that I'm going to give you feedback, but also I would like to receive feedback too. And that is quite uncommon, I would say. That is very uncommon, but it's becoming more common. This is actually a story of the founder of BICO, Center of Servant Leadership, Magda Kamińska. She asked when she was the head of the head of department of one of the banks. It was the whole Warsaw. I think she was responsible for the whole Warsaw area. She asked her employees to give her feedback. It was anonymous, but she asked certain questions. She didn't ask them, "What do you think of me?" She didn't ask that. I show you what we ask later. But when she heard from them, she thought she was doing amazing. And when she heard from them, there were some things she was doing great, but there were some things she was not doing well and she didn't know. And that propelled her into a constructive feedback, was really a fuel to go forward and to change even the organization for better, not herself first, but also the organization. And many leaders, many modern leaders in organizations, they start to notice that perhaps they need to start leading by example. So basically, a servant leader models how to ask. Yes, so he asks first. If I expect my employees to give feedback or to receive feedback, I do it first. I lead. He receives, or he or she receive the feedback also. There is a way to receive it, not to resist it. And implements and also looks into the future what they can do better. This is how culture is created. And then when a servant leader leads, what happens with if you look at the red dot, what happens with the servant partner? We call them we go away from saying employees. People we work with are partners, right? And we have different positions, but we are partners together. We are building something together, and this is actually the goal, to build something together, working for a common goal. When a servant partner learns from the example, as he sees the servant leader lead, and therefore he himself or she himself receives and implements feedback and also feed forward. So it's simple, but it's not easy. Some things can be simple, but they're not necessarily easy. So the way we build culture of feedback in an organization is that actually everyone asks, receives, and implements feedback. Yeah, I ask, but also it's a culture, so everybody does it. And but somebody has to start somewhere, and that is the thing. And it's great if it starts top down. But if it doesn't stop top down, we can start going bottom up. We can start, some people just wait until their leader starts, but it never happens because, for different reasons. However, when we start bottom up, we can also do it. Yeah, we can start in our small teams, agreeing to giving ourselves feedback. And just shortly, I mentioned, so the feedback also happens from the customer's side, customers to us. Actually, customers, they receive, they're on the back end of our services, right? They can tell us a lot, and we can learn a lot from them, because we create a product or services for the end customers. And so that is a very important feedback. Yeah, and also part of the 360, which is the culture and Feedforward, is that we also receive employee to employee, peer to peer, yes, experience, and it's proven to, you know, raise the happiness index, and yeah, and it's just really creates, as I said before, a culture in all fields of operation. So again, we go back, excuse me, I have to have a little sip. Hope you're doing okay. And if I'm speaking too fast, please let me know, because I have a tendency to speed.
Okay.
Yeah. So what is part of the feedback is also appreciation. So again, Brené Brown, she's a researcher, so she did studies. They did studies, and what is the impact of appreciation on people in an organization? And it's and the numbers speak for themselves. 31% of organizations achieve lower turnover rates. So actually, there was a study done in America, not by Brené Brown, but another organization, that 75% people leave their jobs because they're not appreciated. And that is really sad. This is the main reason. Not money. This is not the main reason. Not finance. But they leave because they are not appreciated. They don't feel seen. 81%, what is the impact? 81% of individuals are motivated to make greater efforts. Yeah, people try harder. They do better, try to do better. So the 78% believe that giving recognition increases their effectiveness. Yeah, so that people feel more effective, and also by giving recognition and appreciation, we are more effective. So why is it worth expressing our appreciation? And Mike Robbins, our author of Harvard Business Review, I recommend his TED Talk. It's really informative. He basically said recognition is about giving positive feedback. It's about positive feedback based on results or performance. So this is recognition. We recognize somebody did something. We recognize they did a great job, etc. But appreciation, on the other hand, there is a better way. There is something that is more needed and wanted. Appreciation is about acknowledging a person's value, inherent value, and the point isn't their accomplishments, right? So we don't just say, well, it's a great job, super job, amazing, you did great, it's good. But people want to be seen. And so it's their worth as colleagues and as human beings. So we start acknowledging their worth. And basically, appreciation is not really that hard, because it starts with very small things. It's when I want to appreciate, I'm going to start being attentive to the small things people are doing, right? I give you an example. I was in one of the Marriott hotels in Warsaw 2 weeks ago, and we were there for 2 hours. We ate breakfast because we talked around the table. So the breakfast finished, and I was working still, and I wanted a cup of tea, but it wasn't in service anymore. I was just like 5 minutes late. And so the employee, he said, hey, I'm gonna make some water for you. Here's tea, extra tea, and I'm going to boil some water for you in the kettle, because the water was not there in service anymore. They were cleaning. And he made tea for me, especially for me, without asking me to pay for it. And that was such a small thing, very small thing. But I was like, wow, this is interesting. I feel seen. I feel well served. And so I told him, and he was very happy to hear the feedback that I really feel appreciated as a customer. I really feel seen. And this way, this is in the small things. So I'm sure you all have little examples of and very often we see those little things, but we don't say them. I don't know if we have that. Sometimes we see somebody did something well, or somebody's doing something with an extra smile, or I don't know, different examples. But we think about it, but we don't say it. And if we make a commitment of, I'm always going to say something that is appreciated, and I'm going to look for it, I'm going to make a commitment to do it, then we can really be surprised how how people's attitudes change, how people's involvement change. Instead of just appreciating, the end of the year results, the big numbers, the big is from time to time, but the small happens every day, and we can appreciate the small. We like to be appreciated for the small things, even although you look nice, it's not really appreciation, it's not seeing the value in person, but even being honest and saying, hi, you look great today, and being true about it, it can do the job. But appreciation is even deeper. And again, I don't know about you, but we've been using words like super and great, the American adjectives a lot. So this is super has lost its power, right? Because we use it a lot. This is great. This is amazing. This is awesome. Awesome, as they use in America. That has lost its power, and sometimes, as Grzegorz mentioned before, that's like a cliche, and people don't listen to it because it's not true, or maybe it's true, but it's just cliche. Yeah. So appreciation is a word applying, and the former president of Southwest Airlines, who was loved, he was a great example of a servant leader. He's retired now, but he was loved by his employees. He was known for knowing people's names, right? He was known for going to his people and just knowing their names, asking how their family is doing, and really being interested, really asking for it, about it, not just it was a cliche. So he said, and what if all people in our organization said, we want to bring value to our people's lives, to ours and our clients? Yeah? I don't think this needs any more comment. We want to bring value, add value to the 360 picture. I'm going to just skim through. This is again about 360 culture, but what it does. But there is a difference between appreciation and praise, and that is a slight difference. But we praise people for something, we recognize them for something, but we appreciate them for who they are. And why is it worth asking for feedback? We mentioned that sometimes it's hard, but why is it worth the effort? We learn and we become aware. And awareness, again, is it's first step towards development, towards growth, towards transformation, which we all want, towards innovation. Because again, with the blind spot, if I cannot see it, I cannot change. If I don't see my mascara, I cannot remove it, etc. And we also learn new skills. We think different, and so that's this is why it's worth. So how to ask for feedback? This let me just here. Okay. How are you doing? I'm just gonna take a little time to take a breath. Yeah, so how to ask for feedback. And here are some examples. I'm just going to give you some questions when we can ask someone to give us feedback. Yeah, not wait until somebody gives us feedback, because very often it happens that when, you know, think about this, when somebody says this, we need to talk. Do you have in the work situation or any situation, right? What are your associations? We need to talk. Let's talk. Usually it's, oh my gosh, what happened? What did I do wrong? Right? Or maybe you have some other associations. This is what happens to me. It's for different reasons. It's because very often we've been given only negative feedback. We weren't appreciated, and only when somebody was really angry at us, or really, you know, he had it up to here, then they gave feedback. And that is not, that does not create a culture of feedback. So how can we ask so that we don't wait until somebody hits us with it? Or, yeah, simple questions. And it's worth note, you'll get the presentation, so you have it in your notes. How do you like this solution? And what do you think needs to be changed? Yeah, very an open-ended question. How do you like the solution? What do you think needs to be changed? How do you see it from your point of view? Another very open-ended. How do you see it? I see it this way. How do you see it? I value your perspective. What would you advise me? Yeah, this is a great one. I see something, but what would you do if you were me? What should I change in my meeting with my clients? Yeah, maybe we go together to see a client, or a client comes to us, and we hear one another, we see one another. And so instead of waiting or not saying anything, maybe I can ask, hey, what should I change? What should I do different in my place? What would you do different in my place? I did like this. How about you? Or just, how should I do it? Tell me. Maybe I don't know how to do something. Am I doing it for the first time? I know personally, I have been stifled by some fear when I needed to do something for the first time, because I expected to be, I don't know, perfect, especially in work environment. But when we get new business partners, when we get new employees, they won't be perfect. They will be afraid to sometimes ask, because they're afraid of being shamed or hit at. So how should I do it? How should I do it? That's a great question to ask. If I don't know, I'll just ask. I'm human. What specifically can I do better next time? That's a great question as well. I did something like this, but I'm sure there's a way to improve. What specifically? Tell me. And as you see, these questions, they stay away from opinions. When we ask open-ended questions, this is a coaching approach. And when we ask open-ended question, we don't ask, what do you think about it? You know, what do you think? What is your opinion? How do you judge this? No, we don't ask those questions. We ask wider. We ask for advice. And those are not also questions about, hey, evaluate me, what kind of person I am. No, it's about my job. And so this keeps us safe. This keeps the environment safe psychologically, so that we stay away from those aggressive attitudes and aggressive behaviors. Yeah. So let's go on. Some more good questions. If you want to go to ask for feedback, if you want to ask for feedback, this is about asking still, yeah? How to ask for feedback in more depth. We can even go further. What approach do you think I should take to address this problem? Yeah. Please share with me your honest thoughts. How could I take a different perspective on that? I value your opinion. Please tell me what I could differently to elevate the quality of the project to another level. Is my attitude okay in this situation? How do you see me in this team? Perhaps I don't see something that you usually do. Yeah, this is really asking about the nail. It's asking about, so if in this video, the woman with the nail, had she asked these questions, she would be really relieved after a short period of time instead of suffering for so long. Because the result of there is a cost of not giving feedback and not asking for feedback. It's not like, oh, there is no cost and I can do whatever. There is a cost. And the cost of not asking for feedback is what we see very often in organizations. And I've seen it many times. I've done it myself. The cost of not asking for feedback is great loneliness, is feeling misunderstood. And it's actually, depending how long we stay in the place, it doesn't have to, depends on the resilience, but it can lead to burnout. And that's something we don't want to do. So the stake is quite high, actually. You know, but if we start, and again, these are quite loaded questions, but I would encourage you to start, and I show you a little bit later, a short version of feedback, what we can ask for, but we can ask short, simple questions. As we said, we can listen and we can ask, just choose one of those questions. What can I do better next time? Just that one. Yeah. Okay, so this was about asking how to receive feedback. This is a model. It's called SARA feedback reaction stages, but we've already said it. So sometimes when we receive feedback and somebody tells us that, for example, tells me that I have a panda eyes, obviously in the work situation, this could be more serious. There can be shock at first, unbelief. So where did you get that from? Really? I have a nail on my forehead? There can be anger, as we saw that in the video, that lady, she was quite angry. That somebody was trying to say something, right? And there can be resistance, saying, no, it's not true, it's not me, no. But as we go through these are stages. So if we wait and if we don't reject, then there can be an acceptance, saying, aha, okay, thank you for your honest feedback. I will do my best to draw some conclusions, to look at it, you know. And I have to say, this takes courage. Yeah, and I'm sure you can find yourself in that somewhere along those stages when we receive some feedback. So we've done it. So if you find it challenging, this is a good one. If you find it challenging to accept feedback, yeah, you can apply these steps. You can ask questions to understand what your leader or your colleague means. Yeah. So if somebody gives you a feedback and you don't understand, you feel like, I don't know. Asking questions. What do you mean by that? Can you clarify, please? I don't understand. Instead of trying to be, to resist and to defensive, to be too defensive. Then you can also thank person. Thank them for honest feedback. Because somebody could, could have been thinking behind your back or talking behind your back, and appreciate that somebody tries to say, thank you for giving, I'm going to think about it at least. And if you decide it's not constructive, you don't have to receive it. It's not that everybody sees right, but it's maybe worth looking at. And if it's not okay, then throw it away. Ask for some time to think it through. Again, we don't have to respond right away. Think it through. And just say, hey, I'll come back to you. You don't have to respond in the minute. You don't have to start, because this is how argument starts, as in the videos. Yeah. So I'm going to give you I know we have half an hour, and I'll leave some space. Is it okay if I continue for a little more, and then we leave some space for questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. All right. Or maybe before that, sorry, maybe I stop here and then we continue in a minute. But I ask, do you have any questions right now?
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to hear, but maybe not at this stage, but later, just if you have someone really poorly performing, just how do you offer feedback to such people in a constructive way?
Yes, we will go through the stages how to give constructive.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, so one of the people who really sorry, I'm just gonna hide this. Who talk about feedback, about feed forward. So it's going even further. It's Marshall Goldsmith, and he basically says this. It's what is done is done. So past is the past. You can't change the past. So talking too much about the past and what we did wrong and pointing out the problems, actually it is creating the resistance, as we said, right? It creates resistance and it's shame, and people hide. Yeah, so we can't just all the time tell them what's wrong. And so we can do better. We can feed forward, so we can look into the future. And it's worth getting some of his books. He's really great leader of thought. And so lots of books to choose from. He said this: I am not suggesting and we should always let go of the past. Yeah. So it's not that we never talk about the past. But you need feedback to score the past and identify room for improvement, but you can't change the past. To change, you need to be sharing ideas for the future, right? So it's almost like it's like with children. I would say when people say, well, don't cut yourself, right? And then the child takes it and when they cut themselves, because we never told them how to use the knife. We just told them what not to do. And so it's really more constructive to show people, show ourselves, show others how to do something better in the future, instead of saying how not to do something, because they will repeat themselves again with more fear, and they will hide in shame more. So he believes that it's easier to show people how to improve. And as I said before, greater attention is directed on the possibilities that may occur in the future, because it's okay. Somebody made a mistake. We all do. We are humans, right? We all make mistakes, and we have to come away from this perfectionist approach that everything has to be perfect. I know your organization is in finances, and we can't make, I'm sure, works in finances, so we can't make many mistakes with finances, because that's numbers. But we're not talking about the hard, the tools that are about finances or how to count. We're talking about people skills, right? And here we do make mistakes. And so because we're just human. So And so Goldsmith, he argues that this should be a common tool we use every day. Yeah, because it's about cause and effect. And so basically we give people suggestions how to improve in the future. It's about the task or the skill. So we don't give personal judgments, as we said before. We give, we say, hey, this is how you could use this tool better, how you could do this task better, send this email better, whatever the need is. Intention, our intention is very important. I think people feel intention. We don't necessarily express all the time intentions, but people can feel it. I don't know if I can feel it very often, not always, but often. If somebody wants it for my good, or if somebody wants it for my for the bad. And it's usually best done at a request. We need to ask for feedforward. So as we said before in those questions, how do we do this? We ask first. So, hey, I did this presentation. So what I will be doing probably after this presentation, I'm going to send it to my coworker, and I'm going to ask her, hey, I did this presentation. Can you have a look and tell me what I could maybe different in the future or better? What needs improving? Because I want to grow in my skills. Yeah. The benefits of this feed forward is, again, positive. We focus more on the positive future. Again, it's not about, there might be a question about sugar coating. It's not about sugar coating and putting under the blanket. Absolutely not. So we can't, again, we can't just feed people sugar, right? But this is not about sugar coating. It's about really what happened has happened. And again, think about this. If you made a mistake as a partner, as an employee, you know you made a mistake, right? Very often, you know. If you don't know, there needs to be a mirroring of it. But very often we know we made a mistake, and talking about it again excessively won't help you. It will put you in more shame. But talking what can you do different? Excuse me. Can help you. Can show a posture from me as a leader saying, okay, you made a mistake, you know, you see it, but what can we do different next time so we can avoid this? But we can do different, we can do better. This feed forward creates a future by, and these three things are important. So we ask for suggestions, we listen to ideas, and we say thank you. And the receiving part is very important, the thank you part, right? How often when we receive ideas, what happens in our head is that maybe we don't do it verbally, but in our head it's like, no, it's not going to work. I know better. No, he doesn't know. No, I'm not going to listen to him. I know better. We have very often that happens in our head. Maybe we should say thank you and walk with this, carry this a little longer, and just check, how could I implement it? The same with affirmation. How often when you receive positive affirmation, for example, somebody says to you, I'm going to use a very simple example. This is maybe concerns more women than men, but when somebody tells you, well, you look great today, you look beautiful today, or that's a great hair color, let's be more specific. Somebody says, no, this is I colored it like 2 weeks ago. No, it's not really nice. Oh, I have some gray coming out here. You know, something like that. We do it in other contexts as well. And instead of saying no, just say thank you. And don't say anything else, because anything else after that is awkward. Why feed forward is great for people of success. We're talking people in position, people in leadership. Because people in leadership, you know, nobody wants to come to their leader and say, hey, you know, you did this and that wrong. That's not going to go well. And nobody has that courage to do it, right? But feed forward, which is not pointing out the past, but saying the future, or asking from a leader, feed forward, is going to be more constructive. Yeah, so I'm going to go to the next slide. So here are the differences. And Marshall Goldsmith said it's better showing people how to do something better than prove to them that they are wrong. Yeah. And this is the difference between feedback and feed forward. We focus on the past. In the feedback, we focus on the future in feed forward. Feedback relates to the past problems, feed forward to the solutions. And it's actually, you know, I like when somebody comes to me and they come not just saying, complaining, say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and this is wrong. And I'm like, okay, I know, but like, help me with what is the solution, you know? Do you have any suggestions? So feedback is also associated with difficult emotions, sometimes, as we said before, looking for excuses, but usually feed forward is received by the recipient. It's received, if you suggest something, they have free will, they don't have to accept it, but it goes better. It goes down better. So here's some practical ways how to ask for feed forward. So again, asking. First, ask. Yeah. And this is how we can ask. I'm going to give you just an example, and in the green, and you can see the process. Hey team, I'm working on a presentation for upcoming client meeting. Before I finalize it, I'd love to get your feed forward. I would like to get your, you don't have to use the word feed forward. You can use, I would like to get your ideas. Are there any areas where you think I could improve? Any specific points that need more clarity? Your insight would be greatly appreciated. Yeah, and people really, the nature of people is that they like cooperating. This is invitation more than telling. This is an invitation into co-working and cooperating. Yeah, so so here we have developed 4 communication skills, and it's receiving feedback. So we get feedback, we ask for feedback, we give feedback, and we implement changes. Because again, this is a very important steps, because this also creates a lot of disappointment in teams. What I've noticed is that, yeah, we do the feedback, we do all the trainings, we do yeah, we talk a lot, right? We have meetings a lot, we talk, let's say we gave great feedback. But if me as a leader, if I as a leader, if I haven't implemented something, if I haven't put something into practice, my team is going to see it. Because most people, and ourselves including, we're tired of talking. You know, probably by this second hour now, you're quite tired of me talking. You might be tired of me talking. This is not the best. I like the training room more because there is more interaction. But if we don't implement something, the people that are in our teams, they'll be like, not going to be giving feedback because they are not listening. They're not really, because listening is just listening. It's actually listening and hearing and doing. And that is hard because that takes change. I'm going to go forward a little bit because we don't. Let me just go. You'll get all the slides so we can look through them and have and explore more. But the president of Boeing said, and Ford said, what could we achieve if there was someone next to us to help us remove our limitations and foster conditions for us to be able to fulfill our potential? Susan Wojcicki from Google and YouTube. What would happen if personal humility and building trust were the indicators of success instead of power? So I'll give you 2 examples before we ask for questions. The difference in talking to an employee, feedback versus feedforward. So example 1 is Magic's implementation team didn't hear from you on time. This was previously specified in the requirements. Now unnecessary emotions are involved as you have contributed to the delay. Why didn't you give it to them on time? Yeah. So what do you see here? Feedback, probably you can see there is some focus on the past, what happened. There are some consequences of the behavior, right? There's a question why. But let's look at feedforward. So feedforward it is very important to keep common agreements in projects with internal customer Maciek and his team. So I say, what do I value? What is important to me? This is what is important. It's important to keep common agreements. Yeah, I say that. And then I ask these questions. What can you do different? What do you need to keep in mind? Yeah, because probably you know that this situation has happened. I don't need to bring it up again. If you don't know, you will ask me. I said, I don't know what you mean. Huh? What are you talking about? So then I can, this is what I'm talking about. But probably both of us know there's been a situation and we need to take care of it. And so I'm not going to tell you the answer. You know, many leaders like telling. They like tell the answer, tell the advice. But I am going to actually ask you, how are you you made a mess or a mess has been made? How are you going to fix it? It's not, and so if I ask you, then I put on the responsibility more on you, right? Maybe not responsibility, but more ownership. We use in servant leadership, we use the word ownership. You own this situation. And this way, I know many leaders, they ask this question, all the work is getting piled upon me. People come to me with every little thing. I'm just tired of it. I don't know if you had that. Like more and more. Why? Maybe I should ask the person who's coming with this, I see this, how would you like to fix it? What do you need from me? How can I support you in this? But I'm not going to take ownership of that because it's yours. Maybe I can help you, but I'm not going to do it for you. Another example, last quarter you had goals related to organizing and doing workshops for a business client teams. I have reviewed the feedback and ratings from these meetings. Congratulations on the high ratings from the participants. There were also some comments about the lack of current product cards from forums during the training. Try to work on the latest ones. Didn't the product team send them to you in time? So here we pack everything. We pack the advice, we pack the situation. This is feedback. It's okay, but feedforward. I appreciate, yeah. I congratulate you on the high rating from the participants, great. I say that we had goals to meet, and then I ask questions. What do you think is worth implementing next time to improve the quality? So I'm not telling you what you should do. I'm asking you, what do you think? And maybe I can support you a little bit with this if you don't know, but I'm going to pull it out of you. How would you rate the trainings? Yeah, yourself. This is a great question. To what extent did they meet the expectations of the participant? Yeah. So this is the difference. I hope you can see between feedback and feedforward. So this is another example. So Maciek, we just did quarterly review meeting. Last time you were not actively participating. I wish you engaged more in the conversation about the result and new ideas. Instead of saying that, try saying, suggest something for the future. I suggest that at the next quarterly review meeting, you prepare a plan for your talk in advance. What can you do differently to prepare? What do you need in order to speak up more frequently? Maybe you need something from me. Maybe you need an invitation from me to speak up. So I need to know, what do you need? It's a great, great question. If I was to leave you now, I'm going to wrap up soon, but with 2 questions that are worth asking, that you don't need any training for. Ask 2 questions. What do you need? How can I help you? And again, if somebody asks you for something you cannot do, you can always say no. What do you need? How can I help you? What can I do better next time? Or what can you do better next time? Okay? And it works both ways, not just I, but you. We are both partners. We don't have now time to go into, there is a larger model of Feedforward, which is quite in-depth, but I'm going to give you a very short, this is easy to remember, short model. When you want to ask, or if you want to give Feedforward. So, and this is this. What should I stop doing? Maybe I should stop doing something. I'm doing too much. What should I start doing? Yeah. Maybe I should be doing something more. What should I be doing more? Maybe I should be doing something less. Or maybe I should be doing something different. So what can I be doing something differently? This is a question when I ask for myself. And this way you don't get mad judgments. If you create a culture like this by asking these questions for yourselves, some people may not be skilled enough to give you, maybe they'll do some judgments, but mostly you won't get judged. Because generally people want to give feedback, want to input. But you can also, this is how you can give feedback. I'm going to tell you, maybe if you ask me, if you invite me to tell you, then I can tell you what you can stop doing, maybe start, maybe do more, maybe do less, or maybe different. And by this, we create a wholesome environment. Yeah, I wanna stop here because I've been talking a lot, and I hope you were able to follow. But I want to open this up maybe for your comments, questions also. But what do you, when you listen to this, what comes up in you? Anyone would like to share?
I think this looks like a great feedback model. I only wonder, just what, this has been conceptualized based on kind of a, I would say, average type of personality. I'm not sure what to call it, but what we do get specific types of people. For instance, people who are very shy, or people who tend to
Yes.
just respond, tend to please you rather than just respond with, for instance, constructive feedback. So people who will say you're a great boss, but they don't mean it, for instance. So these, what do we do to open them up a little bit? Would this suffice?
That's a great question.
Sufficient?
That's a great question. What do you think?
I don't know. It's
you don't know. Okay. I would say I don't think there is one answer, but what I would say this, that what we said in the beginning, we need to create a culture And so it needs to be consistent. And we need to start not with the sandwich, but we need to start with affirmation.
Yeah.
A lot of affirmation and build trust. When people trust us, and they doesn't depend whether they're introvert, extrovert, right? Because extrovert, okay, people are like blah, 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 blah. They talk, they don't even hear this. But introverted people or people who are shy, they don't need to be shy. People are for different reasons, right? Maybe they have been hurt in the past, and they're like, I'm not gonna open my mouth, like I'm not gonna say anything, right? So in order to, that takes time. We have to understand it's not like, oh, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to start using this. And yeah, please do. Of course, start with tomorrow, but also be patient. We don't like to be patient, but the organization that our Magda CEO, she worked for, it took 20 years to build a culture of trust, which is like, oh my gosh, 20 years. It started early. It obviously didn't take that long. There were mistakes made along, but now they're functioning great. They have great rates. So and I know you told me you were in an organization for many years, so you know things take time. So I would say build trust, affirm your people, use the little things. Don't use just money for bribing, because that doesn't work. Use words. Words are quite powerful, but only when we don't use them manipulatively. Only when we use them from an intention of, I desire your, it's for your benefit. Right? But it takes maturity too. I would say why it works from top down is important. Top down meaning from leadership point of view. Because usually leaders are mature, experienced, or they're on the way. And mature leaders are not like, they're not so self-focused. They don't need the attention. If they're mature, they don't need like I all the time. And they can actually build people up and raise people up. And that's their joy. That's the joy of the fathers. We don't use that in the context of business, but it's more mentors. But the joy of the father is seeing saying in a family context, seeing a son doing well. And when we move it to a context of a business, the joy of a mentor, the joy of a mature leader is not saying me, give me more, I am more important. That's like immature. That's like sandpit, It's more saying, it's again, I'm mature, I know my position, nobody's going to take it away from me, I'm secure, but my joy is to see you lift it up, is to see you grow, actually grow, not just lift it up, because it can become maybe ego-centered, but I want you to grow, I care about you. And when we do this,
the only problem of that is that some people just don't treat work as something serious to the extent that they kind of
that's true.
just follow the advice and the certain rhetoric. They see it as kind of a game, just where you win or you lose, but you try to, at least at the minimum, you try to survive and carry on.
Yes.
But anyway, I think there has to be some way of talking and communicating, and the scheme is it's appealing because just seems to be giving more space. So even if people see work as a bit of an artificial environment, I think still it gives a certain more constructive framework for engaging in some conversation. After all, we are just doing what we're doing because we engage in a certain contractual arrangement, and I think both sides want to be just kind of satisfied and happy, and so compromise have to be found eventually.
There is a balance that needs to be kept, of course. We're talking the soft, and there is the more hard side, and there needs to be balance. None of those are like either or. I think we could meet somewhere, and also with many mistakes. I don't want this to sound like this is the only way forward. This is helpful tool. It could help us, and there are many other issues around this. This is not the solution, and I would like to I would like you to not to give this idea this is the only solution for changing of environments. There are many, and I guess you all I'm sure you all experience in your field, and you are seeing. Be attentive to what you are seeing. You've got a wisdom in you, and you see some solutions. And if you can't see, then maybe your coworkers do. Anybody else has anything that you like to add or comment?
I was wondering about the implementation after feedback.
Yes.
It's like I think it can be difficult sometimes because sometimes somebody can take offense that the leader ignores its ideas, like because for example, there are many people asked about the ideas, and then like the ideas can be different, completely different sometimes, and then the leader has to choose.
Yes.
So I was wondering how to avoid this not nice situation after this implementation, because someone can feel bad that its idea was not accepted.
Great question also. People take it personally, right? They take it personally that it's my idea, and it's almost like glued to them. It's almost like you're talking about me, my child. That's again, I would say there are different approaches. One of the approaches that come to mind is before you ask for an idea, tell them. Say, I would like to know your ideas, but I also would like to let you know that there are many of my ideas, and it's hard for me to, to implement all. So I'm going to choose one, etc., etc. Right? So if you tell ahead of time people what you're going to do with it, then they don't feel some personal. They could still, it's their choice, but maybe it's softer. Yeah. I would say that's one of there are many more, but this is one thing that comes to mind, just to tell them ahead of time. And you can talk about yourself, what your approach to it, what your vision is, what you want to do with those ideas. Because at the end of the day, you are a leader and you make the decision. And although you ask other people, but you make the decision. You are responsible. You own it. Yeah. Anybody else? Sorry, is that helpful or not?
Yes, thanks.
Yeah. Anybody else would like to add, or we have a few minutes? Oh, it's 1 o'clock, so one more question because we go over time. Question or a comment? Anybody? Okay then. So 1 o'clock, we finished this. Thank you so much for hosting me.